Good evening, President Ossenberg, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. Bear with me, please. I am a little under the weather, so I'm going to do my best to get through it. I have my water close by. I am here tonight to share some exciting work going on in our high schools as part of the high school support model. We formalized instructional coaching in 2016 and continue to make revisions and refine our model. So as you know, the world has changed and is changing all the time. College and career readiness is different than it used to be. Based on research from multiple studies, business leaders, including CEOs of major companies, are clear on what skills candidates will need to be successful. And those are critical thinking and problem solving, effective communication, collaboration and team building, and creativity and innovation. So to be responsive to those demands, what do we need to do for teaching and learning? Our answer to this in the high schools is twofold. One, we're going to use the EVSC Vision for Teaching and Learning as our guide. And two, we're providing high-quality, job-embedded professional development through instructional coaching. This work builds upon what was learned through the model at Central High School in 2016. We're taking the best parts of that model and learnings from the middle school support model forward this year. So our goal is to coach toward the EVSC's vision for teaching and learning. In all that we do, and as a DSS, what I'm always asking is it happening? And by it, in this case, I'm referring to coaching. Is it happening systematically? And is it happening systematically in a high-quality way? So much of my work is thinking about those questions and helping principals take that to scale. So this slide is a brief history of the department chair model, and because it's transformed so much in the last 3 years. In 2016, the role of the department chair changed to that of instructional coach. Mass Insight provided professional development to all schools with intensive support at one high school. And I replicated that level of support in the other 4 comprehensive high schools. The goal that year was to build a culture of feedback in our schools, to learn fundamentals of instructional coaching, and to make coaching systematic. And we were able to meet those goals. In 2017, we shifted our coaching focus to PLCs with the goal of increasing a focus on student learning while also increasing teacher autonomy. This is a one-school model at Harrison High School, and we learn methods for systematically identifying the greatest need in the classroom and then moving that work to PLCs. Our other schools have benefited from this work, but in large part that will come to scale this year, slowly, because we're also working on instructional coaching at the same time. This fall, our high school support model is going to build upon what we've learned already. We coach systematically now, and we are working on making what we're already doing even better. This involves coaching toward the vision, while also increasing teacher voice and choice in the process. And it is a 5-school model with support from Mass Insight. So this slide has a lot of graphics on it.
Can we go back to that last slide?
Yes.
Please? So how do you tell that you're reaching your goal? What's your benchmark or your measurement for this?
Good question. So in 2016, we were looking at teachers were taking surveys, mostly credibility, trust kind of questions, because we wanted to make sure that teachers felt good about the coaching they were receiving. And so mostly survey data that year. This year, each school has goals for frequency of coaching that we're monitoring to make sure that we are really seeing teachers at the frequency we committed to. But then also individual teachers are writing SMART goals, and then when they're met, we will keep record that teachers are meeting their SMART goals.
You think that you're getting enough input back from the teachers and then do you massage what you're doing? Do you take their input and then apply it?
Yes. One of the major differences between 2016 and 2018 was this notion of, while we're having coaching conversations, and we use something called small bets to watch our coaches, like make sure you're giving precise praise and asking questions and getting input. But to add on that even more, this year, teachers will write SMART goals so that we know that we're coaching in an area that they feel particularly passionate about, that they're interested in. If anything, we probably heard that we were surveying too much. Like, you want to say something about that? It was.
Back in 2016, every 3 weeks, and it was certainly anonymous through SurveyMonkey.
Yes.
One other thing that I would just add, in addition to ensuring that we still are getting teacher feedback in the process, the other piece of data that we've added in this year is we're doing classroom walkthroughs at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, focused primarily on student action. So what are we seeing students doing related to the EBSC Vision for Teaching and Learning, and then hoping to see changes based on that practice for students when we go back in the spring.
Okay, so this slide contains some details of the model. As I said, we'll be coaching toward the EVSC's Vision for Teaching and Learning. The circle in the center really explains the process that we'll use. There's professional development within a quarter, and network learning, where we go out in groups to classrooms and really look at the objective evidence and help one another with feedback, and there are targeted support calls. What I do in the process, so Mass Insight, that's their commitment for those particular touch points, and what I do in between is to work with principals and leadership teams to make sure that they're meeting their goals. There are 4 pillars to the work: classroom visits, coaching, coaching on coaching, and instructional improvement systems. So we're really looking at building capacity at every level. A few things to call out in the high school support model. One is network learning, and this is new for us this year. It was part of the middle school model and is part of the middle school model. In network learning, teams of department chairs and principals visit classrooms and debrief and plan for feedback together. It's a little like medical rounds, and this approach allows us to have a common experience and share perspectives and get better at the feedback that we would give than in isolation. We did have our first round of network learning last week, and unanimously, principals and chairs found it extremely beneficial and insightful as we're working toward this collective vision for instruction. We focus on objective evidence that we collect when we're in the classroom, and then analyze that evidence according to our area of focus. For high schools this year, our area of focus is students do the thinking. So we're really being mindful of what classroom practices do we need to put in place so that students are doing the thinking in the classroom and not the teacher. The second thing that we always come back to is this is non-evaluative feedback. So every teacher in our high schools gets feedback every 2 to 3 weeks with action steps that derive toward the vision. And then new this year is the SMART goal writing to ensure that feedback is in an area of importance for teachers.
So just to clarify this and to tie some things together, because there can be a feeling that teachers have this being done to them.
Yes.
That's why the SMART goal that's developed by the teacher that says, these are things that I want to work on this year,
Yep.
is a much more collaborative effort with the department chairs and the teacher. So
Right.
teachers would identify, I'd like to know more about differentiation or what have you.
Right.
So then that will be what the department chair and the teacher work on together. It's identified by the teacher.
Yes, so the teacher identifies the SMART goal, and then oftentimes the teacher will tell the chair when to come into the classroom. They're going to try something that's related to their goal, and they want another pair of eyes in the room. Yes. Yep. I think in 2016 we knew that's where we wanted to go, but we were still learning the fundamentals of coaching. So now that we have that in a better place, we can really work on kind of the art of it.
Darla, does this take the place of going in 4 times a year to evaluate a teacher?
Yes.
This happens every 2 or 3 weeks, so it's ongoing, and the feedback is quicker, and the teachers start working on new goals
Yes.
As soon as they get the information.
Yeah, exactly. And teachers have shared, they do feel like the evaluator has a much better understanding of what's going on in their room because it's not once or twice a year.
This actual process is not part of the evaluation.
It is not.
It's not
This is part of coaching and helping everyone to get better.
That's right.
Okay, so you still have, that process is still in play.
Yeah, we still have to do formal evaluations twice a year for all teachers, but this process, the goal is to coach so that when you get to evaluation, the teacher's in a much better place.
Okay, and then the merit is based on those teacher evaluations and this?
Not this. Not this. Are you talking about the merit pay? Yeah, it's based on some performance measures from the school and the evaluation.
Okay.
It would be nice if it could be based on this, but
Yeah.
I was going to say, if
It
you
would
could
be.
include this in.
the state doesn't allow for that. But I think one of the great things about this is, to your earlier point, if the evaluator, so to speak, and that's assuming that the same person was in there
Right.
both times.
Right.
But this does allow commonality of individuals in the classroom to see the growth that teachers have. And I think that needs to be acknowledged and rewarded.
Yeah.
I know a couple slides
Thanks.
earlier, you had on there more teacher input on the goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of teachers don't feel like they have any input. They're just being told what to do at this point, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to help.
I really think it will. All the research on coaching, if Jim Knight's work especially talks about the benefit of teachers creating a goal that they care about, and then having the person help them meet that goal and provide feedback there. So I'm really excited to get that going. We'll probably get the first round of SMART goals written in the second quarter.
That's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
they're there. They know what
Yes.
they need and where they need to go instead of somebody just popping in and going, hey, you need to do this.
Right.
I think that's a
And
great
it also,
step.
yeah, and it also helps the coach because you know exactly what the teacher's wanting feedback in, so you're really able to look there. So, yeah. Go ahead.
When the coach, teaches them, some new concept or whatever the case be, are they able to use their PLCs and PDs to really, I mean, that's a concern, that I think about for teachers really being able to absorb
Yeah.
what, they.
Yeah, so this year, yes, you're exactly right. So this year, for high schools, with the focus on students do the thinking, really moving away from teacher as sage on the stage to like, how do we really shift that thinking onto students? What's happening in our high schools is their PLCs are talking about how could we do that? What are some strategies we can try? Their departmental meetings and their faculty meetings are all sort of brainstorming, like how can this work? What could we do? So, and then as part of coaching, they don't just like tell the teacher what to do. Often it's, so this is what you tried, here's what I saw. And so we may need to take a time out and both of us go do a little research to figure out where to go next. So, yep. Okay, so this slide is really just a visual that shows touch points of the DSS. So I call those my red bricks in the center. Because after every Mass Insight touch point, I feel responsible for getting with principals and leadership teams to figure out what they need. So we have PD. What clarifications can I help with? What would you like me to do? As an example, we worked last week on how to write SMART goals, and a principal said, hey, before I try this, will you come over and pretend to be a department chair with me? Great, I'll do that. And so I see my role in that as thought partner. I have to ask good questions to make sure that principals are positioned to lead this work in their school. One of the things that I feel good about is we've created a system where teachers are getting coached by department chairs are getting coached by principals, and I'm coaching principals, and Katie coaches me. And so really, at all levels, we have eyes on our work and people helping us to meet the goals that we've set. Okay. I wanted to elaborate a little bit on model classrooms because this is new, and right now this is where I'm spending much of my time. The idea in model classrooms is that the DSS, the principal, and content directors are working collaboratively to strengthen department chairs as teachers. And bi-weekly, we are going into department chairs' classrooms and providing action steps. I think this intentional focus on strengthening chairs as teachers will position them to be stronger coaches. And ultimately, the goal is to create model classrooms in chairs' rooms so that everyone can have a place to go to see strong examples of teaching toward our vision. And then in conclusion, I am excited about the work this year and do believe it will make a difference for our students. The intentional focus in learning walks on student actions in the classroom with a shared vision that's focused on students growing in the development of their 21st century skills will result in all students developing to their maximum potential and being successful throughout every stage of life. Those are a couple of quotes from high school principals. They are also excited about the work this year and its impact that it will have on student learning. Any other questions for me?